Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, a fantastic Sunday. Folks, we got to dive in a little bit to this interesting video from some of the ladies at ESPN talking about Caitlin Clark and her Rookie of the Year award. Now, you may remember some of the things Andrea Carter has said and Chani Aguamike has said and Monica McNutt has said, and not all that long ago, they were talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in the Rookie of the Year race. And for a lot of the season, talking about how Angel Reese had the edge, according to them, when it came to the Rookie of the Year race. However, in listening to some of these comments, I'm starting to wonder if it's possible that I have unknowingly switched timelines. So let's take a listen to some of the things they have to say about Caitlin Clark and the Rookie of the Year, and we'll about it.
Andrea, she was phenomenal.
That was the thing for me. It's not like she just broke records that were set by rookies. She broke records that were set by veterans in this league when they were double digits into their playing career. Caitlin Clark broke those records. For me, the individual performances of Caitlin were phenomenal. They were incredible. My favorite part about her rookie season was how her team started to gel around her and how her chemistry with her teammates grew more and more and more with every game. Her play was outstanding, but how she elevated her teammates was also so fun to watch. Hats off to Caitlin. Should have been unanimous, but I'm just going to stop there.
No, I'm going to pick it up.
Before we let it... And if you heard Andrea say the reason she said, I'm going to leave it there, is because they're going to get into the voting. But first of all, in all fairness, I'm going to give a shout out to Andrea. I disagree with so much of what she has said all season long. I think she was very disingenuous with a lot of it. I think she started moving goalposts, for example, when Stephen A. Smith came back about the the Olympic team and so on and so forth. I still think for all of them, if you had got them on the top of Caitlin Clark fans, it would be different. But I will give her a shout out for this. However, I do think that it's a little bit of revisionist history, a little bit of seeing which way the wind is blowing and how obvious it has been in terms of Caitlin Clark's on-court performance. It feels a little like I said, I switched timelines. Maybe it's an invasion of the body snatchers type thing going on. I mean, maybe this isn't Andrea Carter. Maybe they have been replaced by pod people that are sympathetic to Caitlin Clark. But yeah, so we're gonna listen to China, and then there's something really interesting at the end of this as well that we're gonna get into.
Please. Because she should have been a unanimous Rookie of the Year. And just for some historical context,
I'm sorry, I forgot she was going to start with that sentence because that's what Andrea was leading into. And again, shout out for saying it. Like I always said, I try and be fair. We all have our opinions, and sometimes they may differ. But if I'm going to call somebody out for something that's ridiculous, I got to be fair when they put it out there. And to say she should have been, flat out said she should have been unanimous Rookie of the Year. With the environment we've had all season and what's been going on at ESPN as well, I got to say, hey, I appreciate the shout out and acknowledgement that Caitlin Clark absolutely should have been the unanimous Rookie of the Year.
A lot of time, Rookie of the Year is typically unanimous or very close to it. Aaliyah Boston was unanimous. I believe Ryan Howard had about 53 out of 56 votes. Right. Michaela Onyewere, I think, was about 47 of 49. So it's typically close. But ever since, Angel Reese had that injury, to me, and also coming off of Olympic break, Caitlin Clark separated herself. Yeah. She should have been unanimous. Now,
we'll say, because again, I'm going to be fair. Come on, Angel Reese got injured with what? About 5 games left, 6 games left in the season. And this goes back to what I'm talking about revising histories, but still not thinking enough to not slip that in. So she's telling me that as late as 33, 34 games into a 40-game season, that she's still thinking Angel Reese was in a Rookie of the Year race. Oh, my goodness. They can't let go completely. To
celebrate her, One thing that people forget is as a rookie, she was the most blitzed player in the WNBA, and she still put up 19, 5, and 8 assists, breaking, like you said, the assist record. To be able to do that as a rookie in the face of that much defensive pressure should have been unanimous.
Should have been.
I agree. It should have been unanimous.
Again, shout out on the it should have been unanimous. And also, I have to say, I really, really appreciate pointing out the blitzing. That's what I think now Fever fans, because they're a lot smarter and more basketball knowledge. They have a lot more basketball knowledge than the typical WNBA fan or the typical media person who covers the WNBA. It's kind of funny. They talk about all the new fans coming in. They don't know basketball. They just follow Caitlin Clark. I have found in conversations with them, most of the Fever fans, the Caitlin Clark fans coming in, far more knowledgeable about the ins and outs of the game of basketball than the likes of the typical WNBA fan. And so I appreciate her pointing out that blitzing. In fact, I think you just had it in game 3. Sabrina Ionescu had a really bad game, and they had changed up their defense, put a lot of pressure on Sabrina, blitzed her, basically almost the type of defense that Caitlin Clark faced off against from her first game in the WNBA through an entire season, and she still was able to put up 19-2, I think, 5.7, 5.6? Sorry, I don't have that one in front of me. But I think it was 5.6 or 5.7 and 8.4 assists. And I only point that out because Chiny kind of rounded down on Caitlin's numbers, which, come on now.
And one of the things that sticks with me is, well, she was the first rookie to get a triple-double.
Right.
You think of the greats that came into this league that hadn't been able to really make that happen. The other thing is what she did after the Olympic break. Almost 25 points a game and 9.3 assists a game. I thought the race was close before the Olympic break between she and Angel, but after they had time to practice, after her teammates learned how to play with her, she just springboarded ahead. I think that second half really set the tone for me, for her to be, and should have been, the unanimous Rookie of the Year.
And it was
point. I mean, yeah, she absolutely separated herself coming back from the Olympic break, but I think she separated herself from the league. I think she separated herself from the WNBA. And again, that's why I go back to, they're still clinging to that a little bit. 26 games in, that's where we hit the All-Star Olympic break. Caitlin Clark had already solidified Rookie of the Year. It did not take the separation after the All-Star game. Okay, let's be clear about that. And I'm going to run down some of the numbers they seem to be forgetting when they were saying it was so close for so long. It was absolutely not.
It wasn't just one triple-double. She had 2 on the season.
And this is why we would love for the WNBA to make voting not anonymous. Because if you were the person that had that one vote, you should just be able to stand on it, and we should know who you are. In the NBA, voting is not anonymous.
Yeah.
So I would love for the WNBA to make the voting so we see who put the votes where. That's all I'm saying.
Moment. But first,
Caitlin Clark.
I'm going to give them the most credit, both Andrea and Chiny. Stand on it. Absolutely stand on it. There's no reason. Look, I get it when you're talking about, voting for your congressperson and president and all that, and that's very, very private, and it absolutely should be, no one should know. You should be able to make that vote. But come on, we're talking about Rookie of the Year for a professional sports league. Like I said, the NBA, they know who the voters are. The Hall of Fame votes, you know who the voters are. There is no reason that we don't know who the voters are for Rookie of the Year. And I know a lot of people now are kind of like, oh, well, the important thing is she got it and this and that. That's a separate issue because it's the reasoning behind it. It's what's gone on all season long with the treatment of Caitlin Clark that no one believes that this vote was actually a vote in favor of Angel Reese, in believing that Angel Reese had a better rookie season. That's absolutely not what the vote was about. And I don't think that vote gets made if people know ahead of time who the voters are. But one thing I wanted to rattle off just real quick. because they talked about so much. They talked about the after the All-Star break, the Olympic break, and separating herself and all that, and talk about, there's always talk about the slow start and the Fever were 1-8, and let's not forget a few things that I talked about a lot that early on that we had forgotten about because it was just a thing that just kept happening. And then she was just setting bigger, more meaningful records like the assist record and getting the triple doubles and all that. But despite that slow start by the Fever and what people said was a slow start by Caitlin, and yeah, she absolutely got better and better. There's no denying that at all. But to say it was a slow start or to say she struggled is disingenuous. And you're kind of trying to rewrite history, which is, I will say, the caveat to the shout outs is I think they're a little bit trying to rewrite history with how they're talking about Caitlin now versus how they talked about it all season long with regard to the Rookie of the Year. Caitlin was fastest player to 100 points and 50 assists ever, 8 games. Fastest to 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists, 10 games. Fastest to 200 points, 50 assists, 12 games. Fastest to 200 points, 75 rebounds, 75 assists, 15 games. Fastest to 250 points and 100 assists, 17 games. Fastest player to 300 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists, 19 games. Fastest player to 350 points and 150 assists, 22 games. By the way, first rookie, 15 plus points, 9 plus rebounds, 12 plus assists. That was back on June 30th. First rookie, 15 points, 10 assists, 5 3-pointers in a single game, June 23rd. First rookie, 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, May 28th. First rookie, I already got that one. I think I already covered. Yeah, I already covered that one. The first triple-double was July 6th. So my point in rattling all them off is they were all well before the All-Star break. The closest one to the All-Star break was the July 6th. That was the triple-double. But all the other things were May and June records. Okay, so Caitlin Clark, to say she didn't have a slow start, she just was that phenomenal later in the season that it looked like she had a slow start. So I want to finish off with this just because I think is actually kind of funny. So the way I see this, what you're going to see here, the way I see this is that horse. I know it's a little blurry, but that's the way the video is, but you'll get the gist. You're going to see this horse, and I want you to see what it does. This horse, folks, I feel like this is kind of the media right now, the sports media that you just saw with regard to Caitlin Clark, as you'll see what I mean here in a moment. Huge opportunity. Now, there are the Caitlin Clark fans that have been on board with how good she's been all season long. There is the media. They like, man, we got to get in on this. We got to show them this is where we've been all season long. We've always loved Caitlin Clark. We've always thought she was the Rookie of the Year. By far, MVP candidate, all that, absolutely. We're on board. We've always been on board. Look at us out in front leading the way for Caitlin Clark. Oh, man, that's kind of funny, I thought. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think about what the media is doing. Look, like I said, I got to shout them out to be fair, even if it's sort of a little bit of revisionist history, which is annoying. They at least did it, especially I love the part about saying, because that, to me, that is the part they didn't have to add. Like, that's to me the most legit in terms of what they're saying here was to say we should know who it was, because all the other stuff you can look at, oh, it's revisionist history and they're trying to, get out in front and get you to forget about what they said before. But they didn't have to. They could have done that and achieved that without bringing up the unanimous voting and wanting to know who it was. So I got to shout them out for that. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Thanks so much for checking this out. Really appreciate it. As always, go and have the day you deserve. Man, I took that from somewhere and I can't think of where right now, but I know I've heard it. So if I can remember, I will credit them the next time if I say it again. But I will talk to you later.